Yeah, we know what it is, Wireradio247. It's tonight, it's about R&B. Another Wednesday, man. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Shout out to everybody tuned in. I got Miss Jayyiah, right?
No, Miss Jayyiah.
Jayyiah.
Just say Miss J.
Miss J. I got Miss J in the building. Miss J in the building. Superstar journalist, superstar interviewer. She's in the building. We're gonna talk to her today. We're gonna get to know you because I see you out there doing a lot of things. So I want you to introduce yourself for the people that don't know you.
Okay, well, my name is Miss Jayyiah. I am an entertainment journalist. I'm a writer. I'm a producer, amongst a few other things. But basically, my niche is, journalism and writing.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, continue.
I'm listening. I'm sorry.
You heard that? Yeah. So basically, that's what I do.
Gotcha. How did you get started?
Well, I started, I was born a journalist. I was born a writer. I was writing since elementary, like straight up screenplays in elementary school, like writing my ass off. And I started writing professionally. I started writing for Flex.
Okay.
Then I started writing for Power 105, Cherry Martinez.
You don't mention.
Then I went to. Okay, well, I started writing. I edit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I started writing for the blogs.
Okay.
I started writing with Yandy. I was writing for her, health and wellness writing. I was just writing at first.
Dope.
Then I got with a website called strictlyhiphop.com, and it was just all she wrote after that.
Oh, that's what's up. So how was it? Did you learn anything from working with like Flex or Yandy? What have you learned from them?
Great deal. Flex, for one, Flex is like such a legend, and
Gotcha.
He's very particular. Like when you're up there and you've accomplished so much, like the relationship that you built,
yes.
like the relationship that he built, like we could tell, like you can't write about certain people, you can't write bad things, and situations like that. Like you have to be very careful. And Flex is very particular of a person. I've learned that in this industry, you really have to be choosy the moves you make.
Gotcha.
We all think about Flex and all of the iconic grants that he does,
yes.
but everything is strategic, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I definitely learned, a bit about strategy from him, and writing period. Writing for the blogs, we read the blogs every single day, and you guys may think that there's really no art to it, but it really is. You just can't hop up, and we used to get in trouble all the time for the things we write.
Gotcha.
So I definitely learned a great deal by, from writing.
What's some things that you learned, like writing in blogs? Like, did you ever have a situation where you was confused or you didn't know how to do one thing and you messed up? How was that?
Well, I'm a quick learner, and I always was sick with the pen. I mean, writing for the blogs was dumbing myself down.
Okay.
Because you had to write in slang and things like that.
Okay.
It's not real journalism. You see, you reading the blogs, it's slang sometimes, but when you write for the major web, that's I'm talking about Flex like that. We have to write in slang and stuff like that. But when I was writing for Yandy or Cherry Martinez, that was real writing. So I definitely didn't really make a lot of mistakes. I was good with that.
So what do you prefer? You prefer the upscale writing or the slang writing?
The upscale, because I'm a real writer.
Yeah.
I'm who wants to dumb themselves down. So.
Got you. So how long you been doing your thing for? What year did you start? You started in college?
I started in college, but I started my first celebrity interview I remember was Slow Bucks. That was December 2013.
Okay.
So yeah, I've only been doing it for about 13, 14, I would say 3 years because December 13 doesn't count.
That's what's up.
3 years now.
So what's the ultimate goal? What's next besides the writing?
Well, I moved away from the writing really. I was doing the interviews for Strictly Hip Hop, and then I started. I moved when I left Strictly Hip Hop in March of this year. I moved behind the scenes and started really using my talent. I did my first documentary, DJ's Defined.
That's fire.
It's about it didn't drop yet.
Okay.
It's coming soon. DJ's Defined is about, it's basically defining to the true essence of what a DJ is.
Gotcha.
The DJ game is so oversaturated.
Yes.
So DJ's Defined, I started with The Union. The one that's about to come out is DJ's Defined The Union.
Dope.
So that's about to drop. And Chinks 1 year later is also a documentary that is going to be on television soon. I executive produced that. Yes. It's still exclusive. I did a screening for Chinks' family, but basically that's the type of projects I want to do. I want to continue to do documentaries, and for example, the Chinks documentary, that's something that we want to see.
Yeah.
Rather than just the traditional style of interviewing. I feel like, my ultimate goal is to put projects out there documentaries and interview specials and day in the life, personal things, creative forms of journalism.
How hard is that to be a journalist and jump into documentaries? How hard is that? Is that a hard transition?
No, actually, because I'm a writer, so the whole documentary, I wrote it. It's different than being, writing, because you have to you're interviewing 17, 30 people and putting it all into a movie. So it's like filmmaking.
Dope.
So it definitely is like a big difference. But I wouldn't say it's difficult. It really is one and the same. You know.
Like, do you do independent artists?
Yes.
And how does it feel working with independent artists with don't have a real solid background? How hard is that to write for them?
Well, actually, like if I had to write like a bio for an unsigned artist, you know, well, I think bios and press kits are totally necessary for unsigned artists.
Yes.
And say, for example, they have 3 songs out, you just have to juice it up.
Gotcha.
You know, you just got to juice it up. Like if you know, just started out, you need something. You come from somewhere. You don't want to tell your whole life story, but if you read some bios, it starts out with, you know, Kennedy Jones was born in Staten Island, New York, and, you know, this and that. So it's not really too hard, but shout out to all the unsigned artists out there, and definitely, you know, get bios and get press kits. I definitely, I went on Facebook the other day, and I made a big post about that because that's really important, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So how hard is it working with DJs? Because, you know, you got so many DJs and you got so many attitudes. Some DJs, they feel like they're better than others. How does that working with them?
Well, I've really interviewed the best of the best DJs in New York City.
Dope.
And a lot of the ones, like Self is in the documentary, S1, DJ Will, a lot of Spanking, a lot of the great ones. And I really wouldn't say, you know, the ones I've interviewed had like an attitude about them. Of course they're up, you know, you're on a hierarchy. You're definitely, you know, one of the top DJs, but they do get, you know, a little snooty when it comes to artists trying to pass their songs along and, you know, things like that. But from a journalist's perspective, I don't really deal with the attitude part. I'm here to, you know, to build. But the artists, it is difficult for the artists because you have these 1,000 aspiring artists. You know, they want to get their music to these DJs. You're charging an arm and a leg. It can really be difficult for artists, and I experienced that because, you know, I work around, you know, many unsigned artists, but you know, and you're a DJ yourself, so I know sometimes you would admit it could get a bit annoying sometimes, you know, when they keep approaching you and things like that. But as far as, you know, the top DJs and things like that, I've come into contact with a lot of humble ones because when you struggle and grind, that builds character.
Yes, it does.
So if you really bust your ass, carry crates for 15 years, I mean, some of the DJs I interviewed, the documentary is like exceptional. Some of the DJs I interviewed, they really, all of them, they grind. It's not easy to get there. The mixtape circuit. Think about the history. Think about the Clue era. Think about what DJs evolved into now. You know, now you have a laptop, but one before it was crates. Like it's ridiculous how far that, you know, we've come. So a lot of that makes you humble. Unless you're a straight up a-hole, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna really have that aura about you. But then again, you know how it is.
So is it hard in your field today, because there's so many journalists out there right now? Before the internet was minute, so you had to be a journalist, but now it's like the internet, you can write a blog for yourself. How hard is it to get recognition?
It is definitely difficult because, again, journalists, bloggers, it's just all watered down and oversaturated. And you just have to be creative and stand out. Like, you know, everybody has a microphone now with a mic flag interviewing people. It is really very common. You just have to do something. You have to look at the game and you have to ask yourself, where's the gap? What's missing from the game? You have to fill in. You have to be what the game is missing. You know, I was told many times from people, even like reputable celebrities, like, you know, Jayyiah, the hip hop needs you and this and that. It's because of my approach. I'm well versed. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a real student of the culture.
That's a blessing.
You know what I'm saying? So you just have to. Don't just be, and don't call yourself a journalist if you're really not, you know, like blogging. It's just really it's a big difference. It is an art. And but again, back to the root of the question, it is very difficult, but not so much for me because I feel like I'm in a different lane. I feel like I'm cut from a different cloth. So I just try to be myself and be as creative as possible, and, you know, do what hasn't been done before.
Gotcha. You also go to events as well and write about them.
Yes.
How is that?
Well, I love, you know, doing event coverage, you know, and it's really pretty simple, but it's like crazy because if you're covering an event, say if we're at a Rock Nation release party for Jay-Z's new album, I'm listening differently. I'm listening. I'll probably have my iPad in my hand. I'll probably be, you know, scribbling stuff down. And it's just, you know, it's pretty easy. It's fun, but it's work. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not just going and having fun. It's, you know, dressing up, playing a part. It's work, you know. But, you know, no complaints because this is the life I wanted. But it's work, but it's fun. It's a glamorous field. Like, you know.
And how do you pick the event coverage? How hard is that? Because there's so many events in New York City right now. How do you pick the right event to go to and write about?
Well, you want to be at the best of the best, and you know, I'm like all the way there yet where I'm getting invited to, you know, the top, you know, events. But sometimes you do have to be choosy because again, there's so many places to be. Like the event tonight, I didn't even go. You know, there's so many, you know, places to be. So I just try to be, you know, level-headed. Like, all right, which makes sense to go to. You know, I don't kill myself though. If it's necessary, I'm there.
Got you. How do you feel the independent market is going in New York? Because there's been a lot of shifts lately. How do you feel the independent market is going?
I feel like the underground is really emerging. I feel like it is I always refer back to this Jadakiss line. He said, the indie money is getting good, they can't ink us. They'll never be able to outthink us. And he meant like, you know, independents are doing pretty good. Look at Troy Ave. Look at, you know, it definitely was a shift over the past few years where you don't need a major label.
Gotcha.
And I really do respect that because you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
If you work hard enough, if you have a team, I feel like you can do it on your own. And I really respect it, you know. There's definitely a little watery in the underground, you know, unsigned artists and that whole movement. But I feel like it's pretty good. I feel like, you know, if you keep working, I feel like also it's inspiring. For people like Troy Ave who made it being unsigned and independent, that's inspiring for other artists. Right. You do not need a major. Yeah. You know, and having a major 360 deals, it comes with a whole bunch of bullshit.
A bunch of bullshit.
It really, really does. And it's like overrated, you know. Gotcha. You get after at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're right.
You really do.
As you being a journalist, what's some work that you really love? Like, what's some work that you did so far that you really love? Like,
that I'm proud of?
You're really proud of.
I am really proud of my 2 documentaries. They're both unreleased, but it is really my best work yet. I mean, I wrote this tribute article for Industry 21 magazine, for a magazine. And it was Chinks' tribute article, and it's like a 1,700 word article. Wow. It is like, it took me a while. Like I was, you know, that period of time when he passed, it was like, I knew I had a deadline, but I kept ignoring it because it was so sad. But when I had to like smoke, I had to like really get in the zone because I'm like, I cannot mess up this man's legacy. I have to put my heart and soul into it, and I'm like so proud of it.
Gotcha.
And what else? A few of my interviews, you know, I've got like a whole bunch of views on them. I had great interviews with Rowdy, and Rowdy, like, he was one of my favorite interviews, and I'm always proud of the ones with him because who he is, you know. So that always, you know, made me happy. And you know, a lot of my writings, like you could look online for my writings. I'm always proud of the things I write. I just did an article on Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, and it's just that's something I'm proud of. Okay. You know, projects that make sense. That makes sense. Like
gotta have Jay-Z in there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So how hard was it, like, doing your documentary? Because you said Chinks had passed away 1 year later. Like, was that a long time? You say you had a time limit. Like, did you do it in 3 months, 6 months? You took a year? How long did it take?
Actually, so that's a good question because surprisingly, it was April 17th. It was like April 15th, 1 month away from the 1 year anniversary, which was May 17th. And I was sitting writing on my laptop like, I have to do something with Chinks. And I started writing Chinks 1 year later. It was literally 30 days. I shot like, it was like the hardest I grind thus far. I shot like 30 interviews, travel. Chinks' people is just Far Rockaway. They're so far out. You know, I live in Staten Island. Yeah. I had to really put in so much work to get that documentary TV ready in 30 days. Like, wow. Shout out to Iconic Visions, my production team. They, you know, put together, they were like the cinematographers. They put together a beautiful picture. It was really hard. It was 30 days, no exaggeration.
That's
30
good.
Days. And
that's quick, fast.
And then it's going to be, exactly, we're going to watch it on TV really soon when Chinks' album drops. So yes, that was definitely like a difficult process, but I'm very proud of it, and it was worth it.
That's what's up. So being from Staten Island, what have some influences Staten Island have gave to you?
Well, you know, the Wu-Tang, which was years ago, you know, where, you know, I was born in 90, that was like, you know, I was a child. But Wu-Tang is really the only people besides Mac Wilds who made it out of Staten Island. So, you know, of course there will always be inspiration, even though they're, you know, a decade or so older than me. But also Mac Wilds, because Mac Wilds comes from a project that is not too far from where I live, and he really made it out, and he is just doing so beautifully. So that is always inspiration when someone actually makes it out and actually gets on. You know, Staten Island is the forgotten borough, so it's not every day. It's not every day at all. So, you know, people like that who you know make it out and make a name for us and make us not so forgotten. You know,
that's a good thing. So on your Instagram, I see you have a lot of celebrities on that. What celebrity have gave you the best advice so far?
I would say I would say Karen Civil.
Okay.
She called me one day and she just told me some beautiful things. Like, I'm a pusher. I like to push people. Like, you know, like even if they're not, you know how you have non-motivated friends and things like that. I always push people. And I told her, I said, Karen, I always try to push people to do better, and sometimes they just don't get it. She said, you know, God doesn't give everyone what you have. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could bring a horse to the water, but you cannot make them drink. Gotcha. And, you know, and that made me realize, like, you know what, let me focus. Sometimes it'll be upsetting to me. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to push this person and they're not, you know, but that's just, you know, you know, me and the greatness within. But, yeah, Karen, a whole bunch of people I came into contact who gave me some, you know, great advice. Shout out to all of the DJs, because I've had, you know what, I learned from, if they didn't give me like direct advice, if I interviewed you, I've learned something from you. Like, seriously, everybody. I mean, my whole journey, my whole career, every single person that I've interviewed, I really learned a great deal from, because you know, you're somebody, you know, they're opening up, you're talking to them, you're getting a piece of their world. So I definitely try to learn from everyone I come into contact with.
So what's somebody that gave you, or you gave advice to? Like that you give advice to, you say you help a lot of people. What advice have you given to somebody that pushed them over to the next level?
I always, and this you know, not to like toot my own horn, but I always try my very best to inspire people, and I always say, chase your dream. If there is something that you really want to do, like you could want to be an astronaut, you could want to be a basic rapper, you could want to be the best painter you could be. Really chase your dream, and really, you know, whatever your religion is, whoever your God is, follow God, because He will really lead you. Yeah. And that is so important for, you know, young women and just young men, even older. Success has no age. Gotcha. Even if you're 38 trying to pursue something, please pursue it, because, you know, life is good. You know, there's a lot of, you know, negatives going on, but life is good. And to everybody, you know, if you're listening, chase your dreams, because for me, it was all a dream. I have a long way to go, but it was all a dream, you know, and I'm here, you know, being interviewed by you. So just chase your dreams and believe in yourself. That's what I always say.
No doubt. So what you got coming up? I know you got the DJ.
The documentaries are dropping soon. You know, one is dropping in September.
Okay, September is the drop date.
Yeah, we don't have the date yet. Whenever Chinks' album comes out, is the day it's gonna premiere. DJ's Define should be out, you know, in the next few months. But also my website.
Oh, that's what's up.
MissJayyiah.com. You know, I cannot wait. That is my baby. You know, that's like all of this time, all of this work I've done, I've never dropped my website. So it's currently being, you know, built right now. It's under construction, and that is going to be just a world of its own.
Now, you definitely a dope journalist. I've seen your work. What could we expect from your website?
You can expect creative forms of journalism. MissJayyiah.com, the slogan is the most creative form of journalism, and it's not going to be anything basic. I'm going to try my hardest to make it something we haven't seen in a while. I'm going to try my hardest to bridge the gap. I'm going to try my hardest to give the game what it's been missing. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Journalistically.
So when you say what the game been missing, what do you feel the game been missing from your aspect?
Authenticity.
Gotcha.
There is no authenticity in the game anymore. What's authentic? What's real? We have the social media wave that waters everything down.
That's a fact.
Everybody's fake. Everything is a facade. The lyrics. Where is lyricism? Yeah. Like, listen, we still have the lyricists. We still have J. Cole. We still have the Kendricks. But I'm talking mainstream. The things you hear on the radio every day. Think about it. Think about the era of the locks. Think about hip hop. Like we never. Biggie said, you know, we never would have thought hip hop would have come this far. But look how far. Look where it's going. Look at the direction it's going in. And you know, the same thing with the watery blogs and focusing on the negative. I just want to bring authenticity back, and I feel like I have what it takes.
That's what's up. I'm loving what you're doing. I just want to know how do you feel? Because you touched each other about social media. How has social media influenced music? You feel, if it has?
Social media, it definitely has influenced music, because people, you know, have that, but it's hard to say if it was in a positive or a negative way. Gotcha. Because, you know, all right, so we have Twitter. First we started with Twitter, you know, we have all of this artists, and I would say it's in a good way, because think about the established artists, you know what I'm saying? It's more awareness, it's more, but I'm thinking of it in a negative way, in the sense of, again, the oversaturation. All of these links adding you, right? 1,000 artists, their music. It's really watered down. Yeah. So I could say that it is in a positive way. Again, you need to promote yourself and your music, and that can take people very far. You know what? I'll take that back. Think about think about like the artist, like what's his name, Bryson Tiller,
Yes.
who put his music on SoundCloud. That's not social media, but it's still the internet.
Yes.
And look, it changed your life.
Definitely.
Think about the Justin Bieber's, every single body. So it definitely could be in a positive way.
Yeah.
But also, you know, then you have the annoyances, you know.
Do you write anything about the politics? Because you know there's a lot of politics going on in this country.
No, I stay far away from politics. I was watching the Bill Clinton speech last night, you know, the Democratic convention, and I was like, you know, my friend that I was with, you know, because you see the journalist there, he asked me, he was like, the same question you asked me, I was like, no, I stay far away from politics. I can have that.
Gotcha.
There's so much I can say, but.
Gotcha. How do you feel about it, if you want to speak about it, how do you feel about what's been going on in the United States with the cops killing and the blacks getting mistreated, but then again, we still got black on black crime?
Okay, for one, black on black crime, we know we have an issue.
Yes.
We know that we keep killing each other. But that does not make it okay that y'all keep killing us for no reason.
Yes.
Like, seriously, like, when does it stop? Emmett Till, Amadou Diablo. The names could literally probably go on consecutively for 3 hours without a pause. Y'all keep killing us. It's disgusting and it's ridiculous. And something has to give, you know. And I feel like, you know, marching won't really do much. I feel like, you know how you see Martin, what did it? All right, well, marching up and down with these signs is not really doing anything. What we need to do is put the money back into the black communities. You know, we need to build businesses and for example, ladies that go to the nail salon. If you're not really doing nothing with your life and you're just, you know how there's just some aimless people. Build. We need to build. There's so much work that the black community needs to do. We need to take. If we really all stop spending completely, do you know that will make them pay attention? You won't be pulling the trigger anymore because we're the biggest. You know what I'm saying? We're the consumers and we buy, and it's just ridiculous, man. It's just really, black lives really do matter. They really do, and they really need to. This needs to stop. Something has to give. I'm scared to see what it's gonna look like. Yeah. In the next few years.
Nah, that's what it is. Keep it locked in too. We got few more questions for you. This is Wireradio247, Internet Hottest Hip Hop in R&B. Jay, still in the building.
Yes, sir.
Is there any advice you want to give to any up-and-coming journalists? Like, what advice would you give them? They just starting out.
I want to tell the up-and-comers, especially if you're not, you know, because a lot of up-and-coming journalists go to school for it. You know, I went to school for it. So, you know, have a passion for it. You know, don't just do it because, you know, you see the beautiful girls on the red carpets at the award shows and things like that. Have a passion for it. You know what I'm saying? And study the greats, because you learn a lot from the greats, and not just the Charlemagnes and the Wendy Williams. Study the greats. You know, study, you know, the Elliot Wilsons, real, you know, journalists. And, you know, just do it with your heart, you know.
So who's some greats that you study or you admire? We didn't ask you that question.
I do admire, journalism-wise, I admire Shaheem Reed.
Dope.
You know Shaheem Reed, he MTV, you know, right? MTV.
That's a show.
So much thing. He was like so many publications Shaheem wrote for, and his writing is just brilliant.
Yeah, I know Shaheem.
He really is, you know, like a brilliant journalist. So he's one of my idols. You know, we have Desmond Thomas. He is the editor-in-chief right now of Vibe magazine. He's also a brilliant writer. And you know, a whole bunch of people, but those like when it comes to the pen, like they're really like, you know,
that's what's up.
A problem with the pen.
That's what's up. So if you wasn't a journalist, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't a journalist, what would I be doing? I couldn't even. I would feel so. If I wasn't, you know, doing what I'm doing, I wouldn't even feel alive.
Gotcha.
You know, like I probably would be somewhere. I don't know. That's a tough one. I've never been asked that before. I'm not even sure what I would possibly be doing.
Got you.
I probably would, you know, like the movie Time Machine. I probably would fall right back into journalism somehow.
Got you. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, you know, I was always interested in like astronomy. Oddly enough, like I always said, like in a different world, I would be like an astronaut or something.
Oh, that's fire.
Because astronomy is like so interesting to me.
It is.
It really is. The world, and you know, the way it, you know, works and just everything is just like amazing to me. So I'll probably be on my way to Mars and Venus.
That's what's up. I ain't mad at you. I might be right with you because I like Martians and all that kind of crazy shit.
Yeah.
I like the funny shit that nobody don't talk about. That's what it is. But let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Mars. Now you can find me at Miss Jayyiah on Instagram, Facebook, every single thing. Miss Jayyiah, MISSJAYYIAH. my name, you know, it seems like it says Miss Jayyiah, but it's Miss Jayyiah. And yes, you can find me there. You know, my contact information is in my Instagram bio, my email address, pr@missjayyiah.com. And yes, holla at me. I answer back, you know.
That's what's up.
Slide in the DMs.
Slide in the DMs.
I always, you know, try to write everybody back.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Nah, that's definitely what's up, man. We appreciate you for coming out.
I appreciate you.
Any way we can help you, we definitely on board. So let us know how we can help you. Let's do it.
Definitely, Ejay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.